Hey, social media writers, welcome to week 5. This is going to be the first of several weeks about creating content for your social media. And ideally, that's content, right, that achieves your organization's goals while at the same time informing, persuading, and entertaining your organization's audiences. The next couple of weeks in particular, I'm going to focus on elements that I want you to notice as we prepare to do your next mini project, which is due in 3 weeks on October 7th. In that project, you are going to compare the content created by two different organizations, preferably organizations that have similarities to the organization you want to write for your final project. You're going to watch what they create on two different social media platforms for a period of 2 weeks. Now, that doesn't have to be 2 weeks right this minute. You can look at 2 weeks, previously in their timeline, but you want to see 2 weeks of a variety of content. The purpose of this project is going to be, first of all, to see what your competition is up to, or if you want to use the party metaphor that Jason McDonald introduced us to a couple of weeks ago, when you're getting ready to host a party, you go to other people's parties and see what the best hosts are doing. How are they showing people a good time? What kind of food do you like? What kind of music are they playing? So that you can figure out what you want to adopt for your own parties. So for this project, I want you to learn from what these other organizations are doing well. I would like you to save posts that you would like to comment on in the project or that you might want to use as models for your own work later. And I want you to evaluate how you can stand out from these other organizations in a positive way. And just as for this previous project, there will be a handout with more details coming up. But for this week, let's identify some key elements that apply to almost any social media posts and talk about some best practices that you can apply to your writing for your organization. Now, the assumption behind all the strategies that we're going to talk about is that at a minimum, you want your post to interest one or more of your organization's target audiences, and you want it to create positive feelings about your brand. Or as Sophie Bonheim, one of our authors for this week, says, you want to give people a good experience with your brand. Keep them coming back. Keep building that trust in your organization. And in many of these cases, also, you're going to want them to do something with your posts. So you may want them to click a link and drive them to your website to learn more. Or you may want them to fill out a form or to buy something. So all three of our readings for this week are going to give you different strategies that will help you to create interest and then get people to action. So we're going to focus mainly on textual strategies this week. And then in future weeks, we'll talk more about the visual elements. So both Sophie Bonheim and Andy Crestodina, who is our textbook author, by the way, have blog articles this week, and they're going to talk to you about four big things. Number one, how to hook the readers. Number two, how to make your post easy for people to read. Number three, how to make it visually attractive. And number four, how to give people a reason to click, which is often called the call to action or abbreviated CTA. They're even when they talk about visual stuff in these blog articles, they're going to be talking to you about text-driven strategies. So they're going to be talking about how do you space how do you space the text in your posts? How do you use emojis or special characters to call people's attention to parts of what you're saying? How can you use hashtags both effectively and ineffectively? Those type of things. And then, like I said, in future weeks, we'll talk about, well, where do you get the photos or the videos? What are your options for creating lots of different visual strategies to get people attracted? Probably my favorite concepts from these two pieces. Uh, when it comes to Bonheim's piece, I really like what she does talking about targeted hooks. So she gives you an example of vague hooks, boring hooks, sentences that like you could apply it to 1,000 different social media posts. And she talks to you about how to revise that so that it is specific, it touches the motivations of the audience, and it's clearly directed at the things that that audience cares about. For Crestodina, I think my favorite concept is the stuff that he explains about what he calls explanatory trigrams, which are so trigrams are these little groups of three words where they are shown to cause either emotional or intellectual reactions in people. And he likes explanatory trigrams, which are more fact oriented, because again, it's playing on people's reasons. It's not clickbaity, which is like getting people emotionally wanting to click, and then it turns out that what they click on is not really that interesting, or it's behind a paywall or whatever. So he's saying that you can use explanatory trigrams strategically in your post text to create that extra element of motivation. Okay, so those are the two blog articles, and then there's a PDF that I've posted too. It's a bunch of short chapters from Ann Handley's book, Everybody Writes, which I almost required as our textbook, but I didn't want you to buy two books. But it's got a lot of great stuff about tailoring your writing to social media. And in these particular chapters, she talks about specific ways for creating your brand voice and infusing your brand voice into your post through the vocabulary that you choose and the sentence structures that you choose. Some general guidelines that she offers includes, it's important that you be distinctive in the way that you use language, but not pretentious. People see through pretentious writing and it seems inauthentic. She encourages you, as does Bonheim, to avoid things like empty cliches and buzzwords, stuff that has been overused so much that it now is almost meaningless. And she talks to you about how to adjust your tone when needed for different situations so that you still sound like the brand, but you don't sound inappropriate. So, for example, you don't sound sarcastic when people have a genuine concern. And then she finishes that information by encouraging you, when you know what the brand personality is that you want to create, and when you know how you want to use your vocabulary and sentence structure to create it, then make sure that you document those choices so that you can, number one, be consistent with yourself. And I mean, if you do a lot of social media writing over a long period of time, you can probably see how easy it would be to you're in a different mood today, so now you use different words and you're not consistent with what you've decided, and then that makes your brand seem disorganized. Having documentation will also help you train a team. So, in many organizations, you may not be the only social media writer, or you may be the manager who oversees the social media writers, and you need your team to be consistent with each other. Doesn't mean they have to all sound cookie cutter, but it does mean that you need to kind of create boundaries that they stay within so that they sound like the brand. And third, if you use AI to help you with any of this, then by having your tone documented, you can give that to the AI, and the AI can actually be consistent with your voice, and that's super important. In fact, I want to conclude our new material this week by encouraging you to experiment with using AI to help you with voice, style, and tone if you train it correctly. So beneath this video, I'm going to include a link to a PDF that shows you a chat that I had with ChatGPT, asking it to do some experimentation with tone for different social media posts. And here's kind of what I did. So in November, Wildwood Park is getting ready to have its Toast and Taste fundraising event. And it's basically a wine, music, and food event. But it's a fundraiser that, unlike Lanterns, which I've talked to you about before, is super pricey. Like it's $100 a ticket just to get the normal admission, and it's $150 per ticket to get the VIP admission. So I've written all the text for the Toast and Taste website. You can see that at wildwoodtoastandtaste.org. Uh, and so I gave ChatGPT some material that I just pulled off my own website and said, I need some ideas for Facebook posts. And one of the things that was cool is, as you can see in the transcript, it already used some of the techniques from the readings today to create the 5 sample posts that I asked it for. And then it asked me, did I want to see shorter versions of these so that, like, if I didn't want to do like a Facebook post, but I wanted to do something that might be more like an Instagram caption, I could have versions that would work for both things. And so I gave big thumbs up. I really liked the suggestions that it had. It had a good read on like the fun vibe for the event. But then I went back to it and I said, well, as much as I like these, can you give me something where the tone is a little bit more tilted toward potential donors and potential upscale audiences? Because this is an event where we're really focused on hopefully building a long-term relationship with people who might donate to the organization for years to come, potentially. And sure enough, it gave me more suggestions. So I think it's really cool for you to see the difference between the tone of the first post that it suggested to me and the tone of the second post. Gave me longer and shorter versions for each of those tones. Uh, and then it said, at the end that it could actually give me a schedule for how I could alternate those things so that I hit both audiences. So that was really helpful. And I actually think I'll really genuinely use some of that stuff when we start publicizing the event. So I encourage you to do that as well. Always, of course, giving credit where it's due in the assignment so people know so that I know, I guess, specifically how you worked with the AI and how so in a way, like writing for social media is becoming part your own writing, but also partly how do you write for the AI, which is like why I gave you the transcript, is I wanted you to see what did I say to the AI to get it to give me the quality of answers that I wanted, because the quality of what you get back from it depends on the quality of what you write and put into it. Okay, so for this week's participation activities, I've got a couple of things on the dock for you. Number one, really enjoyed your discussion postings from week 3, where you guys talked about your personal brands and you showed some examples of those. So I'm going to ask you to go back and take a look at those week 3 posts and to talk about who you thought were some of your favorite brand examples from that. And then I'm going to ask you to create a couple of sample posts in a different discussion forum demonstrating what you've learned from the lessons for this week. So I'm going to let you choose. You can pick either your personal brand that you talked about in week 3, or you can talk about the organization that you identified for project 1 in this that you just turned in. And in the post, I'm going to ask you to tell us which brand did you choose to write posts for. What is the brand personality that you've identified? What platform are you writing the posts for? And then I want you to give us an image, which you can get from anywhere for this part, since we haven't talked about image creation yet. Uh, I really want to focus on the caption. So what are you trying to do for that audience? What image would you get to catch their eye? And what caption would you write to get them to either have the emotion, get the information, or do the thing that you want them to do? Okay. I'm really looking forward to reading your projects. I will be online tomorrow night from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Central. That's Wednesday night, uh, September 17th, to answer any questions that you may have. Keep up the good work, and I will see you online soon. Take good care. Have a great week.